Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, Earthlings, wherever you may be on planet Earth. I'm still working on the gin and tonic. Oh, to everybody who said that they're limes, they're not. They really are lemons. They just don't go yellow anymore. It's really weird. They always used to go yellow, and it is a lemon tree, not a lime tree. And they just don't go yellow, actually, ever since the guy died in 2019. And I don't know why. It's like they don't ripe. And if you don't pluck them, they go kind of a white, like they've died, sort of weird. I don't know. But they definitely are lemons. They definitely are lemons. And because they're constant, I mean, it's absolutely brimming with them. So we have to cut them down all the time. And it's kind of lovely. To elaborate a little bit further on the Outer Hebrides, right? I love the Outer Hebrides. I don't want to give the impression at all that I don't love the Outer Hebrides. That it's a fabulous place. I mean, I was recalling from when I think when I sort of hit 13, I started to not enjoy it because I was at private school and I'd go back and they'd all be showing off their suntans, and they'd gone on holidays to the Seychelles and Barbados and everything, and they'd tease me a little bit and go, "Oh, look, your skin looks like Tipex. How was the Outer Hebrides, eh, Fiona?" So, and I always wanted to go somewhere hot, but both my parents suffered terribly from the heat. They did not enjoy the heat at all, and I appreciate that, as you know. So anyway, but the Outer Hebrides, there are so many stories I could tell you about that. Excuse me. When we first went up there, they bought the house in Orinsay, and it was just a tin hut. And they employed some builders to fix it up. And the main builder was called Murray. My father wasn't very impressed with his efforts. He felt he drank too much and didn't do enough work. I thought he was amazing. It was a community of 14 houses, 14 families in Orinsay, and I loved every single last one of them. God bless you and your descendants if you're watching this. I particularly loved Murdy 13, if anyone's watching. And he had a very, very famous, I think it was his brother, Callum Kennedy. If you Google Callum Kennedy, you'll see. And he did a tour. And the plan was that he would ultimately end up at his birthplace, 13 Orinsay, which is why we call him Murdy 13, because they were all called Murdo, all of them. So there was John Murdo, there was Murdy 13, there was Murdo the bus. They're all Murdos. Murdo's a very popular name up there, but this fella was called Callum. And the TV people paid, and they put a sort of a facade in front of the house of number 13. So 1 minute it was just a pebble dash grey cottage, and the next minute it had a sort of a Tudor effect, which was sort of weird. And when we went up, I think it was about, well, it must have been very little, we saw this and I said, "Oh wow, it looks like a really grand house." But when we went round the back, it was just like a billboard over the front of the house, and that was apparently all for the benefit of the TV show of his famous brother or cousin or something. And it was their children, largely, that we played with, the kids from number 13, Murdy 13's kids, and Chris Anna, bless her, she's passed away. She was a fabulous lady. And they were a wonderful family, and I could tell so many stories from Orinsay, I really could. That was a marvellous part of my upbringing. But when I was about 13 or 14, all Murdy's kids had grown up, and they'd gone away. A few of them joined the police, much to his disgust, as I recall. But there was no one for me to play with, so there were no other children, and there was no music other than the dreaded MacDonald sisters, which are fabulous, they are, and I remember Kathleen was the lead singer. So there was nothing for me to do. If it was raining and the wind and the rain and everything, there was just nothing for me to do. It was very, very isolating. And my parents clearly weren't very observant sort of people, thinking perhaps this is not quite the right setting. And even my grandmother, Kath, from Gainsborough, she sort of declared when I was about 11, she said, I'm not going to go on holiday up there. And I think she was always the sort of person like me, she couldn't sit still. And the trouble is, when you're trapped in a house with bad weather and there's nothing more to be done, then you sort of feel... She was a knitter, and there's Harris tweed and there's wool and there's all sorts of stuff up there to do, but she'd sort of knitted herself out, and we'd kind of McDonalded our sister music out. And but it is a wonderful place, and I will add to that, we used to go to many beaches, and one of the beaches we used to go to was called Dailbeag. Now you can look this up, Isla Lewis, Dailbeag. This is another one of the very, very strange and weird things that has happened to me in my life. Happened on the beach, Dailbeag. Now I can't remember how old I was exactly. I could have been 12, 13 or 14, so we're talking 1982, 83, 84. And I will tell you about that in another video. And I think that what happened to me on the beach that day might explain why I'm so weird, and why weird things seem to happen to me, and why I seem to pick up on weird things. But we'll save that story for another day. In the meantime, I hope you're having a fabulous evening. Hope you like the solar lights. I didn't bring my bathing costume, so I'm a bit, and I'll see you below.